You are not contrite about it. You want to act like everybody else was doing it, and maybe they were, but you were the only dumbasses that got caught doing it, banging on a trash can. So now you're going to have to live with that because you have no contrition about you. You want to get up and make a 30-second statement that basically we're moving on. We've said all we need to say. You all have profited. Altuve, Berkman, these guys all have big contracts, all have World Series rings, and they were cheating. Regardless of if other teams were doing it as well, they had a whole system in place that was going on. And the fact now that they want to act like the Mike Fiers is the whole troublemaker in this, this needed to come to light. You're just pissed off because you got caught doing this stuff. So the best way to put it to bed is just to be honest about it. We've seen it with the PED stuff. When guys come out and they just look at Andy Pettit, came out and he said, yes, I did HGH a few times when I was coming back from my shoulder injury. Guess what? No one cares. The guys who are like, nope, hell no, I would never do that. I'm never going to do that. Well, you had a cousin that went down into the Dominican and he came back with stuff. And then they start going on that angle. Then they go to the supplier in the Dominican. Then they find someone in the story just keeps on and on and on going because they want to catch you in a lie because that gets clicks. The only way to shut this down is to just come out and say exactly what you were doing, how long you were doing it, who was involved in it. That will kill this story faster than anything. What keeps this story alive is when people continue to report interesting facts that you have denied, and it makes you look like a liar, and people love that. And now it's just a pile on. Again, we talk about the outrage culture. There's outrage for real here because you have multiple fan bases that feel like they were cheated out of playoff runs, World Series. You have players that have lost probably incentive dollars, much less the trophies that they could have won for MVP awards and year-end awards. You had guys that would basically ended their career because they got knocked around in Houston. Eric, there's a lot that's going on to this, and I would have had no problem if baseball would have came in and just basically did what soccer did and just kicked the team out of the league for 2 years. You are not competing for 2 years. You get no revenue money for 2 years. Your stadium will be empty. We'll reconfigure the schedule and we will make it work. But we are not going to let you continue to profit off of baseball. I would have had no problem if they would have done that. The fact that they just basically slapped them on the wrist with a few draft picks. Look, Eric, if your Jets could win the Super Bowl this year and you knew they were cheating and you would lose your first round picks for 2 years as a fan, would you take that?
Yes.
Hell yes, you would take it to get a Super Bowl. And that's what their fans are. Now they want to act pissed off because, well, some of them aren't. They're suing the team. But you cannot sit there and condone this type of behavior for it. And Rob Manfred, he opened up a rabbit hole when he tried to give these guys immunity. He shouldn't have done that. If the immunity should have been there, then maybe these guys can go out and get dispersed on different teams or their contracts. And I know that gets in a whole players union argument, but it just feels like nothing happened to this team. They still have their banner. They still have their rings. They still have all the money that they made. Whoop-de-doo. They got a fine. The manager is gone for 2 different teams and a GM is gone. Well, big whoop. That is the ultimate. I mean, it gets asked all the time. Would guys take steroids or PEDs just to get the next big contract? And then who cares at that point? You've got your money. And that's what I feel like the Astros are at this point. It's like, we did what we had to do. We got our World Series title. We've made our run over the last 3 years. We've made a truckload of money. We sold out the stadium all the time. We're one of the more profitable teams in the league at that point. You got Altuve getting his money. These other guys, I mean, Carlos Correa coming out and defending Altuve. That guy should be drug tested every single day for the rest of his career for his asinine comments. How in the world are you going to defend a guy that was getting the pitches beaten on a trash can that were coming into him? I think I'd have a pretty good success rate if I knew what was coming. I could probably foul some stuff off if I actually knew either it's a fastball, a changeup, or a breaking ball. These guys had a huge advantage in this moment. Everybody knew it. I don't know why more people didn't step up and speak out about this to end it. But Eric, this is all on the Astros and baseball that this story continues to stay out there because they don't want to just man up and handle it. It wasn't handled right by Manfred. It hasn't been handled right by the Astros and their PR staff. Firing people that you can replace with someone else is not. AJ Hinch is going to have another job probably next year.
Yeah, 2 years.
Especially if teams do their homework and go, wow, this guy actually didn't want this going on. He just didn't know what to do about it. At this point, Eric, if AJ Hinch would have just walked away from this team, just abruptly quit, and this would have came out, that man would have been a hero. Instead, he just didn't handle it the right way. Really, that's just the mantra of the Astros. They just haven't handled this the right way at all. They don't want to be honest with it. And the problem for me, Eric, is they're already getting bus rolled and hated by everyone. Everyone thinks they've done the worst of the worst. Why not just come out and admit everything and get past it? I just don't understand that.
It's our cover-up culture. We just want to cover up. We want to lie. We want to try to get past it with as least amount of damage as possible. And then once the lies become too much to handle, then you have to do this big mea culpa and come clean. Well, as you said with Pettit, it just, no one cared once he came clean. Whereas a guy like Roger Clemens, who wants to deny, becomes villain. He's the villain because of how you behave and how you act about it. It seems to be that some people just can't admit when they're wrong, when they've done something wrong. And it's disgusting. I mean, I would love to see them go to an NCAA football model. It's not necessarily that they have to be out of the league, but okay, you can't be in the playoffs for 4 years. You're on probation. So nothing you do is going to matter, because if you're top in the standings in the West, doesn't matter. The second place team is actually the first place team with regard to the playoffs, because you're not in the playoffs. So I do think there's something more serious that should have and needs to be done. I just don't know how they go from where they're at now and the mess that they've made to fixing it from there. And I'll end on this with the Major League Baseball thing. But if they don't do anything further with this, you got to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's ridiculous how you're going to pick and choose your battles on what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. One of the best players of all time, one of the best hitters of all time, holding a grudge over his head for 30 years, not going to put him in the Hall of Fame, not going to let him back into baseball, when the Astros are going to go out this year and play baseball with their World Series trophy and their MVP trophy from 2017 like no big deal. So it's absolutely asinine. It's hypocritical. It's ridiculous. And it drives me, once again, away from the sport of baseball. It's just another reason that I don't flip on the TV and watch baseball. Fantastic show, Justin. This was a lot of fun. To our listeners, I apologize that we don't record on a weekly basis as much as we'd like to right now. Lots going on in our personal lives, primarily with the health of my youngest son. Lots to deal with. We're getting through that, and also the new job that I've got. So our recording schedule is by no means regular right now, but we do appreciate those of you who hit us up on Twitter and in text, and others that just say, hey, haven't heard you in a few days. What's going on? You got a new episode coming out soon? That means a lot to us. We appreciate the listening. We want to talk sports with you as much as you want to hear us talk about sports. So keep those questions rolling. Hit us up on Twitter and social media. Let us know what hot topics in the world of sports you're thinking about. That's it for episode 318. We'll talk back at you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our #1 goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit TalkbackFanTalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkbackJustin and @TalkbackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkbackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.